Legalizing marijuana has been making headlines across the U.S., and these updated laws have left some with the impression that marijuana isn't as dangerous as alcohol, heroin, or prescription drugs. What is the danger of marijuana? Ed O'Reilly with the Neil Kennedy Recovery Clinic in Dublin is here with some answers. Ed, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Gail.
Well, it's interesting when we talk about marijuana because a lot of people say it's not any worse than alcohol. It's not addictive. What is the truth?
Well, the truth lies in between.
Yeah.
Like the old movie I remember seeing as a teenager called Reefer Madness.
Yes.
Which was made in, I believe, the 30s, which is, it's, you know, the most evil thing on the planet. And then some people treat it like it's a harmless recreational drug. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In point of fact, it's not the most evil thing on the planet, but it's not a harmless recreational drug. It is addictive, and it can have some significant negative characteristics on people.
It's interesting that you find it addictive. And what are some of those characteristics that make people know they have a problem if they start using this?
Well, adults, well, actually adolescents and adults, there have been some recent studies that show that chronic marijuana use lowers the IQ on an average of 8 points.
Seriously?
Yes. Now, I don't know, maybe you'd notice, maybe you wouldn't, okay? But the people around you would probably notice. And you also get what's called, the fancy word for it is marijuana amotivational syndrome. Now that's a mouthful. It's probably more popularly called stoner syndrome.
Well, that at least people can relate to that term.
Which is a reduction of motivation in essence. And most people know that. I mean, I think every parent's worst nightmare is that, you know, their son's going to turn into a 30-year-old who's living in the basement playing his Xbox all the time and smoking weed, you know, and that's marijuana motivational syndrome. Now, that's an extreme example, okay, but it is a very real problem. The other thing that we often see is, for a long time, we've known that marijuana is a gateway drug. In the sense that...
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Okay.
In the sense that most people who use harder drugs started with marijuana. It's not really possible to prove that marijuana caused that to happen. It's just something that we always see. There's some recent research on animals, however, which suggests that marijuana tends to sensitize the brain to, in this case, it was heroin. Okay, so that rats, I just love this. It makes you wonder what they do to these poor rats, but you know, rats are more likely to use heroin if they've been using marijuana, been sensitized to marijuana earlier. So we kind of think there's something going on in the brain there. So it's not the safest thing to do.
So as some people blow it off and say it's just a matter of growing up, people will experience it like other experiences in life. It's not one of those things that you can say it's a necessary experience to mature and grow up, is to try marijuana.
Well, what happens here is it actually may inhibit your maturing and growing up.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is I find more discussion about it, and I think I see more of it, and I believe it's because it is now being discussed and legalized in some states. So all of a sudden the talk and the usage of it seems to have gone up.
Yes, that does seem to be the case, and I mean, it is true that it's not as dangerous of a drug as, say, heroin. Okay, but that's not much of a good comparison because heroin can kill you any given time you use it.
Right.
Okay? So to say, okay, well, marijuana won't kill you if you use it, well, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Your advice to parents who have children who may be at that age when they would be tempted to try, what do you say?
Well, basically, the main thing is today's marijuana isn't the marijuana of like 20 years ago. It's been selectively bred by highly motivated stoner folks, okay, who employ very good herbalists and chemists and people like that. The THC content in marijuana now is about 4 to 5 times what it used to be back in, say, the 70s.
Wow.
So it is a much more potent medicine, really, and it's a much more potent chemical compound. So it's not the same as some parents are like, well, you know, I burned 1 or 2 when I was younger and it didn't seem to harm me. And well, it's not the same stuff now.
Wow, Ed, that's really a good for all parents to know. Thank you so much for the suggestion. Your information has been up there if parents need to reach out to you or someone who feels like they need that help. So we appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Gail.